My first thought was, well, that's par for the course. I mean, the amount of Nazi jokes I've dealt with throughout my entire career is pretty staggering. But I can almost. I want to really preface this. I can almost excuse the first one as a lapse in judgment while he's giving high fives. I can almost accept that. But someone's saying, "Well, I blacked out, yada yada yada." When I black out, I don't normally throw up Zig Heil salutes. And also, you know what? After the first time, he decided to double down and do it again for a second time. What is this? Like, seriously, I mean, if you think anti-Semitism is not rampant throughout baseball, it's in a very, very, very Christian sport. And not all of the players that are very, very Christian are the brightest of Christians. And that's not knocking Christianity by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just telling you what I've dealt with throughout my career is being called multiple Jewish slurs by fans, by teammates. I had one coach call me into the office and explain my Judaism to him because he was born again Christian, and I was fired the next day. Let's be real clear. There aren't a lot of Jews in baseball. And if throwing around Nazi salutes is a way of being the social butterfly, you might want to find some better ways to do it. His apology seemed like he meant his apology. And I appreciate the apology, I really do. I actually was more annoyed by the A's response than his. The A's response where he said he did something that looked like a Nazi salute. No, he did a Nazi salute. He did a Nazi salute twice. Let's not sugarcoat around it. This is what happened. And I really, really despise their response. I hate every half-measure response Major League Baseball always makes. And unfortunately, someone was trying to say, well, this is all cancel culture. I'm like, no, actions have consequences. That's not cancel culture, that's life. And if I can't imagine if a Jewish player was on that team right now, what they would have to say. If I was in that locker room, what I'd have to go into that office and have to do with that coach. We'd either have to have a very harsh conversation, or we'd have to shut the door and maybe throw punches, because that's unacceptable, plain and simple.
If you were, Rob Manfred, what would Cody Decker's punishment be to this coach?
I think a fair thing would be a suspension. Perhaps something to educate him on the scenario. Don Jackson posted out those tweets, but you know what? His response after that, I can appreciate. He had a dialogue with a Holocaust survivor. He wants to go visit Auschwitz. He wants to educate himself on the situation. Now, does Christensen need to go that far? No, but I would like him to educate himself on the situation, understanding why this is so offensive, why this isn't funny to people like me, and honestly, players like me. Let him know what I've been through that he's never been through, and what my family has been through that his family, luckily, has never had to be through, and why this is unacceptable.
How difficult was it for you? You played, in the minors and in the majors for a long time.
Early on, it was not. I don't know if it was so much on purpose, but there was a lot of hiding the fact that I was Jewish. My last name's Decker, so no one really could tell that I am Jewish. It was certain instances that came out where people found out that I was Jewish, and the reactions that were probably some of the worst ones. I had a series in Frisco, Texas, where we had like 5 guys behind home plate constantly calling me and Nate Fryman kikes for the entire game. I had to have a conversation with the Frisco Rough Riders front office. I'm like, hey, you guys did nothing about this, and it was blatant. And they apologized to me, and they truly did mean it. They just said they didn't know about it. I had that instance with that one team where I was released the day after I had this very awkward conversation about Judaism compared to Christianity and why I don't believe in Jesus. I had an instance out at a bar with a bunch of teammates where these girls found out I was Jewish somehow because a teammate just casually mentioned it, and they demanded that I exit the table. I mean, this was 2012, and this is still the world we live in. And I don't want to sit around and talk about all the social unrest that's taking place, but I've never seen so many Nazi flags in the United States as I have these last couple of years.